Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crystal Earth podcast. My name is Monet Noctaris, also known as the Black Rose of Gaia. And this right here, I think, is going to be the final episode within the first season, besides the Earthkeepers panel that we'll be doing next. But this is the official capstone of the first group of episodes that I wanted to release all at once so that you guys can kind of listen through all of them, get your footing of what has changed within the grid and the whole planetary field. And I couldn't do that without talking more about what is tone. Why does it matter? I think I might have mentioned before that, there's kind of different words for the override. There's the crystalline override, the harmonic override. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what harmonics are and what the heck they have to do with the grid. Because this is not something that I knew before I really got deep into grid work and the the mission kind of like took off. I understood about, energy routing through the grid and ley lines and things like that, but I didn't know what tone had to do with anything. That never even crossed my mind. It actually wasn't until very potent plant medicine journey where I was kind of viscerally introduced to the concept of harmonics as an important piece of not just the grid. I didn't even really tie it into the grid yet, but to the universe. Everything in our universe is combination of light, color, sound, and what comes in between, which is shadow, right? You can't have light without shadow. That's just part of duality. Duality is not a bad thing. It's just how this universe was designed. And so what I was shown during this very interesting journey was how the scaffolding of creation is just based off of these infinite refractions of light, of tone. And it was like I was witnessing this. It was really beautiful. I was able to kind of see the entire underlying structure under everything. Because if you think about it, what we see in this earth plane with our eyes can only perceive so much because of how we were biologically designed as humans. But there are many, many other layers to reality that we can't see with our human eyes. But it doesn't mean we can't perceive them. Tone is one of these. And tone is actually all around us. Even if we're not literally hearing it, you can feel tone inside your body. And there's kind of like two different ways that you can experience tone. If you want to like put it into an easy binary to help you understand it, there's harmony and there's dissonance. Harmony is what it sounds like. It's many notes playing at once in a chord, right? And it it can be one note, it can be many, but when you hear it, it feels good. It's infectious. Whereas dissonance is it's kind of like when tones clash together. And so, when I'm talking about tone being the language of the grid and the language that humans entrain to or are conversely repelled from, think about it like how, here's an example. Say you meet up with your best friend who you know well for coffee and you ask them how they're doing and they say, I'm fine. Right? But, you know, they might say they're fine, but the tone behind it, you can kind of feel it, right? You might be feeling you are perceptive at all, especially if you know that person. It makes it even easier. It's like you feel that the words they say and their tone don't quite match. There's something else actually going on under there, right? So then you might, ask them like more details or, whatever. So that's just like a common example. Or, say you're watching, this is always fun. I try not to do this if I can help it. Say you're watching politics, right? And you are seeing somebody who's a leader. They're speaking, they're saying words. Maybe they have a smile on their face. What you feel, energy that you feel coming from them, feels completely off from the words they're saying. That's dissonance. And because you feel it in your body, right? You feel like something is just off about this person and what they're saying. So, what you're perceiving, even not through words, you're feeling the tone of the interactions you're having with people. And you can feel when those interactions are dissonant versus when they are harmonious. When someone is coherent or harmonious, their tone and their words match. And so in the past, the grid system was kind of tone neutral. It's like if you're a particularly perceptive person, you can tell when somebody's in key or not in key. But it's like the grid had their hands were off, like it had no involvement in what that actually means. But now the grid is not neutral. The grid responds to tone. So the grid amplifies coherence of tone, harmony. So you can see my cat. She's that's my wobbly one. So you might see her walk very slowly and very wobbly over to wherever she is going. She's fine, I promise. She's a very happy cat, has no idea she's any different. She just kind of walks around like she's had too many margaritas. But so now that the tone-based system is online, the grid amplifies voices, people who are in coherence with their own tone. And if somebody is in distortion, dissonance, the grid reflects it right back to them. So truth, the tone of truth, which is what the grid now entrains to, carries farther, faster, while distorted tones collapse under their own weight. And you've heard me talk about entrainment before. So entrainment is really important. Up until now, it's like the people of Earth have kind of been like solo instruments. If we're all a big orchestra, it's like everybody's been in their individual instrument, but none of them have been harmonizing together. Some are out of key, some are in tune, but maybe others are not able to hear the in tune ones because they're not being amplified. And so it's like the field itself, the planetary field itself, feels dissonant. However, post override and with coherence of tone being amplified across the grid, this is kind of where some of my stuff comes in as like the human tuning fork. Tone and coherence of tone becomes contagious. It's kind of like if you go to maybe a music festival and then, you plug in the speaker, you turn up the volume, and everybody's hearing the same beat. And everybody organizes around that same beat so that everybody is singing and dancing in step, unifying together. That's what it was like when we plugged in Earth's crystalline grid and restored the original tonal system. So now everybody is beginning to be able to get in step with the same metronome, the same beat, same key, so that we're not all completely different instruments playing and singing in different keys, because that creates a dissonant field. That's how Earth and the people of Earth and the planet itself is able to sustain a cohesive, coherent, harmonic field. And it's not that we're all playing the same instrument. We all have different tones, different instruments, but together, when we're all in step with Earth's heartbeat and Earth's key signature, right? If you're a musician, that might help you kind of like put things into perspective. Then we all get to play the same song, and that creates harmony through many, many voices. So that's kind of like a high level, in a nutshell version of why Earth switched to a tone-based system. And I think using that analogy, you might be able to see how, of course, we're going to have dissonance in the field if we're all listening to different music at the same time in different keys, playing different songs. So I hope that helps um, put things together for you to explain maybe what you're already feeling if you're watching this after the override sequence has completed. So I also just wanted to let you know kind of like what comes next here. If you're enjoying this podcast and maybe it's helped you kind of understand what you're feeling, what's changed, and why. We're going to continue the discussion next with a panel from my Earthkeepers group. So, as I mentioned, this whole planetary project was not completed by myself in isolation. There were others with me, and we all had integral pieces to contribute to the override. And so you will hear from them in the next episode. And what I want to say about the recording, if some of it goes over your head or feels like too high level, no worries. We've been working with each other for a very long time. We almost have our own language at this point. So if it ever just feels like overwhelming, just allow it to kind of wash over you and let the tone speak for itself. Because really, in the end, if anything, the words itself don't matter. It's the tone that's underneath it. But I hope that you will see that there are indeed others like me and other crystalline beings out there who are all contributing to this new field that we're living in. Make sure you go to my website to check out any of my offerings if you want to step a little bit closer, whether I'm working with people directly or holding group ceremonies. I'll be offering more things like meditations and recordings. Start there, join my email list, and that's where I send out planetary updates in real time. And make sure to subscribe to this podcast as well, because just because season 1 is over doesn't mean it's stopping. Continue updating regularly, and I hope you'll join me. Much love to you all. It's complete.